Do you know what the Rule of 55 is and how it can help you in retirement? Hi, I'm Garrett Ray, financial planner here at the Wealth Guardians and the Ray Financial Group.
And I'm Brice Payne, and you've entered The Vault, the Wealth Guardians video series on all things pertaining to retirement planning. Don't forget to hit these like and subscribe buttons down below the screen there if you care to catch future episodes or even old episodes of The Vault with Doug Garrett and myself. That's the way to do it. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Rule 55 and what it is and how you can use it to avoid early IRS distribution penalties.
Oh, okay.
All right. So,
Very
Garrett,
good.
let's go ahead and get started on it.
Okay, Brice. So you said a key phrase there to me. Early IRS distribution penalties. So are you telling me that the Rule of 55 could be a way to help someone who's thinking about doing an early retirement?
Right, exactly.
So what is this Rule of 55?
So Rule 55 is, let's back up and set the premise for it.
Okay.
Most of us are aware that if we have saved monies for retirement in 401ks, TSP plans, 457s, 403bs, IRAs, SEP IRAs, simple IRAs, that you are not supposed to touch those monies until you are 59 and a half. That's that arbitrary age that the IRS has set out there. It's
a very common rule.
It's all those accounts are what we refer to as qualified accounts. And if you touch those monies before age 59 and a half, except in very few exception rules, you're going to be hit with a 10% penalty because the government allowed you to put monies in these accounts and avoid paying taxes on the earnings of those monies as long as you don't touch the monies until 59. So there is
most people's understanding.
That's most people's understanding of it. So there is an exception to this, and it's called the Rule 55. And this is a way to take monies out of your 401ks or qualified accounts, let's say in general terms, out of your qualified accounts prior to age 59 and a half without paying that 10% penalty. Okay. But there are certain things that have to happen in order to make this true. Otherwise, you are still going to have to pay the penalty.
You definitely piqued my interest, so now I have to know.
Okay. So let's say that you are working for your employer and you're 55 years old, or you're going to turn 55 this year.
Okay.
And you're ready to retire. You either just don't want to do it anymore or you can't do it anymore. You got to retire. If that happens, keep in mind that you can't file for Social Security in most cases until you're 62.
That is also true.
If you're retiring in the calendar year that you turn 55, but you can't file for Social Security until 62, and a majority of your assets are in what we call qualified accounts, you could be in a little bit of a pickle. Now, if you had other additional retirement income, say you're a landlord and you've got retirement income from rentals, and you can make enough money off of that to put gas in the car and food in the fridge and to keep the lights on, then great, power to you. But that's not most of us. Okay. So somebody gets in a situation where they've got to retire in the year that they're 55 or before 59 and a half, and they're going to need to take distributions from their qualified accounts. They are allowed to do that as long as you retired in the calendar year that you turn 55. Doesn't mean, let's say that your birthday is in October. Doesn't mean that you have to wait until October to retire. Just
the calendar year.
January 1st, if you retire in that calendar year that you turn 55, whatever monies that you had in your current employer's 401k plan, you are allowed to take distributions from that as long as you stay retired while you're taking the distributions, and as long as you waited until the calendar year that you turn 55. But you can only take distributions from that one specific 401k.
So my most recent employer.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
You might have another 401k out there from an old employer that you never did anything with. You are not allowed to take distributions from that 401k. You are not allowed to take distributions from your IRAs or any other accounts that you might have out there that are qualified accounts. It's just this one single 401k. So let's say that you're in a situation where you retire in the calendar year that you turn 55, and you're being what most of us would consider a responsible individual when it comes to their finances, and you're taking that 401k from your current employer and you're rolling it over to an IRA to consolidate it with your other IRA monies.
Sure. Okay.
As soon as you do that, you have now just nullified your ability to take advantage of the Rule 55, because you were only allowed to do that from monies that were at your current or your now old employer's 401k. Well, if you just rolled them over to an IRA, the IRS, for whatever reason, does not allow you to take distributions from that. So be careful. If you are retiring and you think ahead and you say, hey, I'm going to need some money to take distributions from my 401k or my qualified accounts until I can turn on Social Security.
Right.
Think ahead and don't take a certain amount of those 401k monies that you think that you will need to take distributions from and leave them there at your current employer. Be aware of what you're invested in and always keep an eye on that, and maybe change your investments depending on what the markets are doing, but leave them there in the 401k. Now, once you get to 59 and a half and you are now allowed to take monies out of your IRAs, the Rule 55 is no longer applicable to you because you've reached that magical age of 59 and a half. Then you can roll those monies from your old employer's 401k over to an IRA, consolidate them, and have the wide world of investment options available to you that were not available to you in your 401k.
I see, Brice. Well, that's good. So if for those of us out there who are thinking about retiring a little bit earlier than may be typical, say around age 55 or before 59 and a half, this definitely sounds like a strategy that one can employ.
It is one that a lot of people utilize. Now, again, not all of us are fortunate enough to be able to retire at 55, and a lot of people who use this rule didn't retire on their own volition. Something happened. It wasn't a choice. So if you are of that situation, you're saying, hey, I'm going to retire early, you probably have monies outside of your current employer's 401k to live off of. But if you are caught in this situation, don't think, well, I don't know what I can do because I'm not 59 and a half yet, and I can't file for Social Security yet, so what am I supposed to do? This is that rule that allows people to take advantage of if you're caught in that particular predicament.
Very good. Thank you for letting us know, Brice. Anything else on Rule 55?
That's all that I can think of. What about you? You got anything for me to add to it?
That's all I got.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Vault. Again, I'll bring your attention to these like and subscribe buttons down below the screen there. Click on those if you want to catch future episodes of The Vault with Garrett, Doug, and myself. I want to remind you that financial plans do not create themselves. I'm Brice Payne.
And I'm Garrett Ray.
And this has been The Vault.